So first impressions of the event. I thought it would be 8 to 10 demo stations. There'd be a developer each one. You would go in and they would like talk you through it as you went through the app. You have like 10 minutes, maybe 30 minutes in the app. You come out, turn the headset off, and they'd be like, so what do you think? But they absolutely went like another mile above that in delivering an expensive conference. That the money they would have put down on that, they've clearly budgeted like a sizable amount towards promoting the game and engaging with the community and getting that feedback. A massive pillar for them is community feedback. They're in a unique, privileged position where they're building a game already knowing who the core community are going to be. That's rare. Normally, if you're developing a game, you don't know who the core community is going to be because it doesn't exist yet. You need to like sell people on the idea. They're in a unique position where they've got people that are already sold. They're going to give positive feedback regardless, but they're also the kind of people that are going to really critique the experience as well. And that's exactly what they want. They're basically the half of the studio that aren't Ready at Dawn ex-employees are community people that would just start building things without being paid to do it. This is a mix of the people, like the modders, the people that, when I say mod, I mean like modding the game, rather than moderating, I mean like moderations. They're building additional add-ons to the game experience and improving it for everyone. They've employed those. So they've just got all the right people in the right places with the right freedom and resources to build the game the best they can. So to answer the question, like first impressions, I feel like they are completely built to do this correctly. They're doing it correctly. They have their heads screwed on right in terms of like direction, in terms of leadership, where they're going, what the product they want to deliver. And their last I guess mission statement, like core principles for the company that they listed in the presentation. A core thing, the last one was unapologetically us. Like the authenticity of it as they do their delivery of their talks, with the Q&A. I think mainly the Q&A highlights it, where they're being asked tricky questions like, well, what do you think about this? How are you going to solve that issue? And their answer's always like, don't know. Not in like an apathetic way, like giving up. They completely care about getting the end result, but in terms of how they get there, they're not being clever about it. There's no like ego of, we have the answer, we're going to smash this, we know what we're doing, listen to us, here's the amazing product, use it, you're going to love it. Like expecting yes men. Completely, it's the respect they have for their core users, which is like their secret weapon. It's not even secret because they just completely wear it on their sleeve. Like what it really boils down to is just right in our face. They're saying it openly, but I still feel it's going to go over a lot of people's heads on why, like retrospectively, how they're so successful and how they're just going to dominate a market that people think doesn't exist. It does exist. It's just not glossed over and monetized yet how people would expect it to be. So I'm just going to sit on this idea for a second. So unapologetically us, the authenticity angle of that. And that's what I was coming around to saying, is how they responded to questions that were difficult. For example, I flew out here from Europe, from London, and before I went, everyone's saying, like, I asked people, like, what questions do you want me to ask? And the big question that I got from a lot of people is like, well, when can we play it? Because right now there is an early access, it's open to like core community members that were very, very involved. They've now opened it up to everyone that attended the Vegas event, but there's questions from EU people of like, okay, can we play it? Can we have some like Europe servers? The answer was, it was an annoying answer because it was like, we'll let you know. It was basically a non-answer. I'm like, yeah, sure. Like they have a loose roadmap, and I think this is what I'm getting at. They haven't. So larger companies that have the resources, they will literally have a team for planning, and they will strategically plan the next X number of months. And once they've done that, like, yep, signed, sealed, delivered, done, we've got our planning. They start planning the next one before that's even done. They just plan, cycle, plan. Maybe it's a benefit of being such a smaller team and being a startup as well. Startup? Are they a startup? This is actually something I'm curious about. I couldn't really ask it because it's all, you can't really ask about finances, but are they a startup or are they breaking even? Like, sure, they're probably burning like $1 million every month on the size of the team they have and the work they're putting in without an immediate return on investment. But they've got Gorilla Tag, the biggest selling VR game like ever, and currently still with millions of players. I don't actually know the exact numbers. I need to find that out though. But millions of players that play this game. There must be ways that they get money from Meta rather than paying Meta to be on the platform. Because really, like, think about the value proposition there. Say that this game, A2, side note, A2, someone asked about this, like, have they thought about a better name than A2? And the answer was, I kind of like A2. And I do as well. Someone said this earlier. We were just like randomly talking. And like, I think it's a sick name. I think it carries a lot of weight suddenly. Because it doesn't matter what the word actually is. Like, you could call it goat milk or chocolate hamster or lamppost cheese. I don't know why these are all food related, but the name doesn't matter. The actual words that you call it does not matter as long as it's memorable. The meaning to the name comes by the work that you put into it and basically what you build and what people associate with like the ongoing activity and experience of what you've just named. You could literally call it anything. You could call it stop sign. You could call it umbrella. It just doesn't matter. It's what you make of it. And maybe I'm reading way too much into it, but David's answer to like what you're going to call it, he's like, I kind of like A2. That was my impression as well. Like I kind of like how simple it is, and basically maybe I'm just lazy, but it's just established already. People in this world, in this niche of a niche, it's just referred to as A2, and I think that carries a lot of weight because of the weight that's been associated to it already, and because of how we've been addressed it. I can realistically see in it be called A2 going forward. And maybe if that's like the social world of it, if it does become something more beyond where they are with stations, it's called A2, like A2 Universe, and then within that we have the game modes which have names. Another thing, I'm probably going to do like whole other videos on this, but the game modes they talk about, so they're going to have like a default game mode that they're working on. Mainly Strembitsky's the level designer. He's building out the arenas and the actual like gameplay, not the mechanics, but like the rule set of the game that's being played. So there's going to be like a default one, but there's also going to be opportunity for like the end users to build what they want to build. Completely change the rules. So like simple rule sets, like turn regrabbing on, off. There's that kind of thing, but there's also like designing the arena. You can have it however you want to. You can set up for like trench tennis whenever you want. Like you just have to build it yourself, and there's going to be people willing to do that, and they have access to the tools to do that with the level editor being shown by like Bish, one of the younger developers. He's just got turned up free reign. Here you go, here's the resources, here's the time, here's the money, here's the access to like whatever, go build. And they're building a level editor where just build what you want. So with that, like, do we then get the VRML version of the game, which has their set VRML rule set, which will be tweaked and changed, but that will be the competitive area, and then they'll become like a community made one that rises to the top, that will be like the more casual one, the more fun, that feels like pick up basketball. Oh man, there's so many tangents I can go on here. Pick up basketball, that's actually a big theme. That was never explicitly said on stage or in any conversation I had this weekend, but pick up basketball was the vibe I got when I played the game. I managed to play for about an hour, and it was enough to like get a hold of the game mechanics, understand the size of the arena, kind of to think about the design decisions they made across it. And pick up basketball was the vibe I got from, thinking of a better word, than the consistency, the fluid, continue, whatever that long word would be, beginning with C, of you score a goal. What would happen in other games is you'd like Rocket League or whatever, or I mean Echo's the main one we're comparing it to. You'd score, you'd have a few seconds to gloat, and then bang, you're back in the lobby. And it's a hard stop, it's a hard cut and change. But when I say pick up basketball, with A2 you score, and it's like, okay, pick up the ball, come back to the middle and go. And the state it was at when I tried it, they have a halfway line where game So you pick up the ball like you would in basketball, and then you just continue playing. And the other team, basically there's either one or two things. One, that's 15 seconds and then play resumes. 15 seconds where only the team that got conceded on can grab the disc and interact with it, and the other team can't interact with it. You got 15 seconds with that moment of grace. Or the team that scored go all the way back past the halfway line, and the team that got conceded on with the disc, it's only once they cross that line that the opposition can start engaging. They're thinking about continuity of the game, of the flow. There's not a hard cut to the flow of the experience. And this comes from following a principle of social first. It's the social experience that's been put on the pedestal here. So there was the big keynote at the beginning, which, by the way, I loved. I loved how professional they came to this. It's the respect they put on what they're doing. It's the respect on themselves. It's the respect on the community, and like putting all of the resource into this event and really bringing it together. It's like, we don't know what we're doing. We're going to do our absolute best. We're going to bring you guys in, and we want you to tear it down and critique it. We consider ourselves intelligent people. We consider you guys intelligent people, and we want to build this together. We're going to throw the money in it and build it. We're going to give you the resources. We want you as the extended community. So when I say extended community, I mean the core community, but considering them an extension of the team, bringing them in, rewarding them, and thanking them along the way. Massive. I'll answer the question that I got from Savage Large in the Discord. He said, Mitch, aside from all the hype and excitement and the fact that it's all new and everything, what do you really think? What do you really think? You're saying that this is going to be like the biggest game in VR, blah, blah, blah. With the hype and excitement aside, how do you really feel about it? So there was a conversation that happened last night at the after party. Sat down, Lemming came and sat down, Palador sat down, and they were just kind of like reminiscing about old times. And then I could see this man. Lemming is sat there like exhausted, absolutely exhausted from the past like months and months and months. But also particularly the past couple of weeks, you can tell this man has barely slept as he's like working on building all of this with his team. Like, massive props to him, like putting this together, really putting himself in the furnace and understanding like a sense of duty, essentially, to build this all together, pull it all together, do his part. He was a player. He played the game, competed at the top level, and now he's building the next one. So he sat there absolutely exhausted, and then conversation sparks, and then the passion just gets lit up. And at one point, Palador is sat with us, and he's talking about key moments. He was talking about one of the statements of the keynote. He was like looking around the room, and he said it was one of those moments where you think to yourself, oh, like you kind of zoom out for a sec, and you think, this is like living history. Holy shit. The people in this room right now. He said one other time it happened was when he was at Oculus Connect. He was at a dinner at Oculus Connect 4 or 5, and he sat at the table with like the people that make things happen. David Yee, Rad David, I assume, some high like studio people at Ready at Dawn, and he sat at a dinner table at this big event, and conversations are happening that are affecting the course of the future, virtual reality, this next platform. It's what I describe as, I called it the Zucks on his computer in 2003, 2004, building Facebook, like first setting up the Facebook.com, or Jeff Bezos. So I think there's a famous picture of him like in a room with like piles and piles of books around a computer, selling books, setting up Amazon for the first time in the late 90s. These like moments where no one's watching and the people involved look crazy and like ridiculous and like, what the fuck are you doing? It's a combination of when everyone's going this way, you go that way. When you turn around and go the other way, it takes guts to do that. Determination, self-belief to go the other way. Mark Manson says to be successful, you need that first. You need to, when everyone's going this way, you go that way. The second thing to being successful is massive hard work and actually sticking to it and staying going that way, which is hard. You may change your mind when you see everyone else going the other way. The third thing, go a different way, keep going that way, stick at it for years. The third thing is the thing that you can't control. You have to be right in the way that you're going. Tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of people, even successful people, will really like stick their boots in the mud. Is that the expression? They'll really like stand in their position. No, I'm right. And it will turn out the opinion they have is that the earth is flat. They'll stick in it. No, everyone thinks this. I think this. I'm actually right, and I'm going to stick with it because this, and this. That's exactly the mindset that you need to be successful, but you also have to be right. And that's the part you can't control. And you could waste years and years and years of your life, and that's the risk that comes with it. And in a roundabout way, I'm answering the question from Savage. This could fail. 1000% there's risk involved. And A2 could absolutely be, another Axiom could be throwing money down the toilet. They could just be throwing $100 bills into the sea, just absolutely throwing it away. I strongly believe that's not the case. They've done everything in their rational power and position, market position, the resources available to them. They are completely going the right way to make this happen. The size of the team they've built, the direction they're going, and the people they've put in positions to help them do it, including the people they've hired and the early access people, do I think, with all the hype and excitement aside, that this really is going to be the next big thing. Not just for VR sports, not just for VR gaming, but for VR. Yes, I do believe that because of the team they've got, but also a key thing. So this came up in the conversation at the after party. We're sat with Lemming, with Palador, and with Rad Natalie. A thing that came up was passion, which is an incredibly cliche thing to say, so I kind of hate saying it, but the reason why they're going to succeed is because all the people involved would be doing this even if they weren't being paid. All that A2 have done is just given them the time, the money to do what they were going to do anyway. So the big irony with all of this is that what they are doing is what Meta does. There's such an irony angle to all of this. The fact that they're building a massive, they're building a metaverse the obvious way that Meta should be doing it. And this is Lemming's big thing. Lemming is just doing the obvious, but for some reason no one's doing it, and basically someone needs to do it. Because of bureaucracy or just other agendas or reasons, it's not being done by the people that should be doing it. So all Lemming is doing is what he did with Gorilla Tag. He just did the thing obvious. He's just confused why it's not being done, so he did it, and he's just like, well, I told you. Of course it's going to go well. And it's ridiculous that no one really saw it going well like that. The irony angle I was going at is that Meta/Facebook is all about connecting people and the social experience and putting social first. All another Axiom is doing is exactly that, and putting the social side first. Building a social metaverse experience with a core pillar being the social experience. The concept that Lemming had was throwing the baby out with the water when it comes to social experiences. They're cutting out the water cooler moments, the walking down the corridor. So this is the main manifestation of it, is that Lemming has, with his stations, he's built in corridors or ways to travel that you would travel with your party. The concept he used, and is pretty sick. He says bar crawling. Why do people bar crawl? This is something that for years and years and years he could not get his head around. Why the fuck? I'm good. We're sat at this bar. I'm having a good time. Why have we got to go to 5 other bars? What? Can't we just chill? And the realization he had was that what comes with that is when you bar hop, when you travel between bar to bar, in that one example, the social dynamics, and I think that's the key word, the social dynamics gets shuffled. It gets shaken up. Where you're sat at the bar, say there's 4 of you, you're sat in that order, you're next to you, you're speaking more, and everyone's kind of listening in. They can't quite hear as well, they hear really well. As you all get up, one person goes to the toilet, we've now got 3. They come back, someone else goes, it's a different 3. You walk, the person that you're stood next to and having that break off conversation with while you're traveling changes. The subject changes. Oh, look at that. Look at this happening on the way. What you're observing. And then when you get to a new bar, maybe you're sat in a different place. Maybe there's other people to talk to. It's that change of shuffling up that happens when you're changing from location to location. And that's throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That's what's lost when you're trying to be efficient and cutting out parts of the social interaction. By improving the experience, you're cutting out all of these natural things in real life that you're losing. But to answer your question, Savage, I feel it's the right people in it because of the passion. The man should have no energy left, but yet there's fire in his eyes as he's explaining, like viscerally explaining all these points and his frustration with the larger people with influence in this space, making these obvious mistakes that he's just like, look, I can do it. He's filled with passion, and so is the entire team. And I feel like that's it. That's the core thing, that these people that believe in what they're building so much that they use it. And let me just repeat that. They're people that believe in what they're doing so much that they use it. Imagine there was like a design team building cars and none of them drove the type of car that they built. Imagine it was a team that worked on motorbikes, but they all drove cars. None of them actually, they all got free bikes, but they never actually rode those bikes. Would you trust their bikes? Would you enjoy their bikes? Would you pay a premium price for those bikes made by a team that don't ride bikes? Like, the obvious answer is like, sure, but no. This is what they were saying. This was their words, that there's people building the metaverse or social spaces that don't live in the metaverse or social spaces online. And it's harmful to the end result. They're then being incentivized in different ways rather than being driven by their passion and what they're building. It's what's happening with another Axiom. It's a room for the people that are incredibly passionate and they're just going to build it for themselves. It's this whole idea of building what they want themselves, picking up the responsibility to do that. Oh yeah, how big of a deal Echo Arena was as a title for the platform, for Quest and Quest 2. It was such a huge application, intended to be a seller for the headset. It was on the when you bought a Quest 2, on the back, it would have like example games. It would have Beat Saber, Echo Arena. It was huge. So much so that one of the reveal like promotional videos that Meta would have put millions into to showcase it, it had Mark Zuckerberg and Andrew Bosworth in it. They're playing Echo Arena. So Echo Arena is one of the core flagship experiences to sell the Quest 2. The Quest 2 went on to be one of the most successful headsets in history. Like mental, in terms of like even beyond VR. I don't know the stats on this, but it's got to be one of those things that are going to be in a museum in 100 years. You're going to have an iPhone, you're going to have a BlackBerry, you're going to have like a MacBook Air or something, like a Game Boy. You're going to have a Quest 2. I reckon the Quest 2 is more impactful than the original Oculus Rift. Maybe the DK1 and then Quest 2 in terms of the impact it's had and how it's pushed the industry forward. Echo Arena was a flagship title for that. That's how like big and backed it was at a point. So if that's what Echo Arena was for Quest 2, what's A2 gonna mean with all of the people that were passionate about it and building all the best things and weren't being paid to do it, and now on that team together? And just to top it off, right, mad coincidence. So before the event, about 2 hours before the event, and kind of like still ongoing while the event started, it happens probably like once in 50 years. There is a solar eclipse that's visible to Vegas. What a coincidence that there was a solar eclipse 2 hours before the first look event for A2, their massive, incredible public event that they put all this time and effort into. And built by Lemming, whose Echo Arena team was called Eclipse. What a ridiculous coincidence that 2 hours before the start of the day where he's doing this, and he just picked this day. There was no correlation. He did not know there was an eclipse until like 8 hours after, when someone came over and was like, you know, there was an eclipse today. He did not know. It was so over his head. Pardon the pun. And there won't be another one for like 50 years. On the day that he does the first look event. Like, I try not to read into these things. I feel like it's just human nature to read into things and make a story where there is no story. It genuinely is a coincidence. But what a coincidence. Like what are the chances of accidentally picking the only day there's an eclipse in Vegas within 50 years? And to top it off, the peak of the eclipse was at 9:26. And like for me, all my life, 26, the reason my gamer tag was MoneyMitch26 is because 26 is a number that throughout my life, my childhood and adult life, it's just a number that pops up. Like it's just a mad coincidence. I try not to read into it, but it just become like everyone has a lucky number. That is my lucky number. I mean, bringing it back to me. It's not all about me. You're fine. It's just a mad coincidence. 26, that was the time of the eclipse, and then how much it meant for A2, and the fact I've flown, just, yeah, me, all about me. In a weird way, it justifies to me, selfishly, personally, that it was 1,000% worth the trip out here. I'm in a privileged spot where I don't have responsibilities that stops other people from being quite like, yeah, fuck it, I'll go do this. Yeah, fuck it, I'll go do that. I plan to live a life like in the coming years where of course I'll have responsibilities, I'll have career, family, things like that, which I can't be as ad hoc and crazy and just like throw money down to go do stuff like that. But I can right now, and I think I'm absolutely robbing myself and other people I can have an impact on in a positive way by not doing these kind of things. That's why I'm stood here on a Sunday, stood here for about an hour and a half. I've been recording this because I'm going to cut bits out, but yeah, 10:05. I think I started this at like 8:30. Stood here, probably getting sunstroke. But I spoke about A2 for a lot. I'm going to talk about me for a sec. Me. One of the maddest things about putting a camera on your face and talking like this is that, say 100 people watch it, 50 people watch it for 2 seconds, they're like, oh, what is this? And then they go. Probably 40 people watch like a fair bit of it and they're like, oh yeah, that was cool. And then just like, don't remember. Like, yeah, I think I saw that. Like completely gone. And then, but 10 people watch it all the way through and they connect with it and they're like, yo, whoa. Especially when you're doing this kind of content where it's quite, I hate saying it, but it's highbrow. It's like, you really have to pay attention to get the value out of this. It's not like a slot machine in Vegas where it's all flashy lights and instant gratification. That's a double-decker. They have double-deckers out here. I really just thought that was an English thing. That is me, small world mentality, small country mentality of, no, wait, what? Other people have that? Double-decker. It wasn't red though. That'd be insulting if it was red. Throw hands. Me. What was I saying? Back to me. I'm going delusional. Heat stroke. Yeah, I was going on. So those 10 people watch it and enjoy it. So those 10 people, thank you for watching this. But out of that, you've got 5, 4, 3 people that really connect. And that is, it's a lot. When you're, so just before I flew out here, I put up my interview, top of the pop finale thing where he interviewed me, and I did it just before I flew, and it was when I landed. Yeah, sorry, I put it out before I got on the plane. I go on the plane, I can pay for Wi-Fi, but I was like, you know what, no, Mitch, don't think about it, literally don't think about it, just clock off, go on the flight. And the whole flight I'm like, I just want to pay for the Wi-Fi, I want to see what people are saying. And it's when I landed, I get network again, I get connection, 4G, and I get all the comments, and like I'm bracing myself for like the, you fucking loser, why is he crying on the video? What the fuck is this? I'm like bracing myself for that. And side note, that's fine as well. I'm surprised I haven't had it. I'm genuinely surprised. I don't think I've had like a mean response where I see other people that put themselves out there, they get like, this guy's a fucking loser, what the fuck is this? I'm kind of like, I'm open to that because I don't want yes men. I don't want people to be like, oh, that's great, yeah. Literally no one wants that. If you want that, then there's some there's some stuff you need to untie. Like you're just not built correctly. You're not built realistically. For people to love you, other people need to hate you. It needs to be a spectrum. And the more vulnerable you are, the more viscerally some people are going to hate you. And I'm surprised I haven't been exposed to that yet. I'm sure it exists, and there's some people like this, man, this self-obsessed. So, yeah, I wanted to say that one of like the real like things that hit you is so there's two things. There's people that, two types of people. There's people that you have a dialogue with. Okay, first off, there's people that you've never met, and they don't even comment. They don't even leave comments. So you have no idea. You're completely going off blind faith that you're leaving an impression on them. And they're coming up to you, and they're like fanning out. And they're really, they're massively impacted by you being vulnerable. And it's kind of hard to take in as well. It's kind of like not real as well. It's like, I don't know you. And it then makes you want to get to know them and like find out, okay, how did I impact them? And you want to hear their story. And that's me doing the interview series, interviewing people. I want to hear people's stories. Haskell called it human interest. So there's those, and that's surreal. I got it twice on the trip. Imagine the people that like are massively impacted, but they don't even say anything, and they're just silently massively impacted. I guess I'll wrap that point up. Me, all about me. Well, this trip was worth it. It's about the people. I love the people around, and I enjoy that A2 exists and they're doing it correctly. Maybe that's what it is. I'm enjoying the impact it's leaving on me, knowing that people are doing good, passionate work and are winning. It's the good guy winning. I think that's what we like to see. It's people that you want to succeed are in a position to succeed, and that is something that revs me up, is knowing that people that should be winning are winning, and they're making like a good future for us all. And even where competition will come in and cause problems, but people will come in and compete. The people that are first to market are the right people that are first to market and have that leverage going forward. These are the horse, I think it's Gary Vee that says it. He bets on the horse. It's not about the business idea on the surface. It's about who's in the driving seat, who's the CEO, who's the CTO, who's the people they're employing and bringing on board. What's the team they're building? It's the team that gives you assurance that this is going to be built correctly. And they're going to deal when the fires come up, when the reasons to pivot come up, they're going to pivot correctly because they've got the right compass, the right principles. The principles of unapologetically us, social first, and I can't remember any of the others. They had a list of like 6 principles that they're following. Very privileged to live in this time in human history where massive things happen like this, and I feel privileged to be an early adopter in one of these massive things that are about to happen. To say that I was here, literally here. This was sick, and I'll maybe do a video later as well.